Hello and welcome to the New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary, direct from our news mother, as known as my Compost Heap. Let's see what stories we're working on this week. I know that, yep, there's a lot of money. It's raining money in New Haven. It's like showers, thunder showers. Just this week, one day, you might have noticed, $4 million came in for just 3 different projects in town to clear the ground so we can build new stuff at the old Dixwell Plaza, Miller Street, the old New England Linen. That was just one day. We got $160 million for harbor remediation from the feds. We got hundreds of million dollars that come from pandemic relief money we haven't spent, and that's the challenge for the next 2 years in New Haven. Usually the challenge is let's get the federal government to approve more money for cities. Now there's all this money. Are we really going to be able to spend it well? I hope so. Well, I don't think I'm getting too far on this used bike. It needs another wheel. But Steve Winter had both wheels on his old used bike, and he pedaled it even though it just finished snowing through the streets of New Haven to his first day as work as New Haven's new climate czar. New job where he's going to look at making the city greener in the future city government buildings, our own homes. And Steve has, as his top priority, he said, that reign of money in mind. There's over $400 billion approved in 2 federal laws, the Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, that's geared toward green jobs and green energy. So Steve wants to make sure we get a lot of that money coming through the state so we can create jobs in New Haven retrofitting people's homes. Good job. Well, holiday season's here. I have a book recommendation. I just finished reading a great book by a New Haven author, Beverly Gage, G-Man, J. Edgar Hoover and the Making of the American Century. 700 pages chock full of new revelations about what the FBI director did in building the modern surveillance state and the modern FBI from the ground up. How he maneuvered around everybody through the Cold War. COINTELPRO broke the law, ruined people's lives, led to deaths and crushing of dissent. But I'm going to reveal the biggest surprise in the book that Gage found out. Hoover did all that terrible stuff and some good stuff we hadn't known. But we, or people like us, were in on it. It turns out she found out that people did know COINTELPRO was around in power, and they were kind of okay with it, sometimes more than he was. And even the ACLU, NAACP, civil rights people that Hoover was trying to destroy, they support a lot of what he did. And maybe some of us weren't around then, but maybe we're doing that now in some ways without even realizing. Just a thought. And I have that thought when I think about this week's most important news story. This is a get out of jail free card. Adam Carmen got out of prison but not free. He's gone to a halfway house and the state still hasn't decided whether they'll retry him. But Carmen just fished 29 years in prison for one of the most notorious murders ever in New Haven of 8-month-old Daniel Monique Taft shot to death in her living room. It turns out the state hid hundreds of pages of evidence that showed they had no case. It was all built on an eyewitness who actually had picked someone else first and never had a good eyewitness, and they had somebody else who twice confessed. And they didn't tell the defense that, so the judge now said he would have never been convicted. Of course, he has to be let out. How does something like that happen? Now, this has happened so much. There have been dozens of people that we no longer remember all their names who are being let out of prison after having decades of their lives destroyed, being sent to prison for crimes they either didn't commit or no way you can prove they committed back in the 80s and 90s. So we look back now, and as with the Hoover book, we say, why did the prosecutor do this? Why did the system work that way? Why did government people allow that? And those important questions, people need to be held accountable. But the bigger question is we were complicit. Like I covered that trial for Adam Carmen. I remember we all felt justice would be that he goes to prison. He was involved with the drug gangs. He was involved with violent people. He knew all these people, so we figured the police arrested him. They must have had him. Who cares about the fine points, right? But we were wrong. And in fact, that wasn't justice. Justice would be to have the system work fairly. Well, Hanukkah begins Sunday night. We're going to be lighting candles for 8 nights. My wish is that we all see transcendent, beautiful light in the weeks ahead and the year ahead, and that we create sparks of beauty together. Until next time, this is Paul Bass from New Haven Independent Vlog News Summary. Remember, always pick up your trash.